Next, before we break for lunch, we have answers to question what is Sustainable Travel Label. To help the tourism industry in Finland to adopt sustainable practices, Visit Finland has developed the Sustainable Travel Finland program. The program is designed for Finnish tourism companies and destinations to develop more sustainable practices. And we have project director Liisa Kokkarinen. I think she's online on Zoom. So we are our first Zoom talker today. Liisa Kokkarinen, the stage is yours.
Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon for those who are ahead of us in the time zone. Unfortunately, today I don't have the privilege of being in Lahti, in the European Green Capital. Regrettably, these travel restrictions and lack of availability affect my possibility to travel being in Lahti. So I'm sending my warm regards from ever so snowy Lapland, northern Finland. First of all, I do wish to congratulate Lahti for being European Green Capital. That's quite an achievement. And I will be introducing the Sustainable Travel Finland program and label to you more in detail. But before doing so, I would like to remind you that being sustainable or making tourism sustainable, it's not only about the businesses and destinations, it's all about the stakeholders involved in tourism, including the travelers. So before going further in the details about Sustainable Travel Finland program, I would like to invite you all to Finland. I know that many of you are at the moment somewhere else than in Finland. So let's take a pledge. Let's have a look how we welcome our international visitors to Finland. So once more, welcome to Finland. My name is Liisa Kokkarinen and I come from Visit Finland, the National Tourism Board of Finland. Today I will be telling you more about the Sustainable Travel Finland label and the Finnish approach to develop sustainable tourism. But before going into the detail, let's look into some reasons that why are we investing so heavily in sustainable tourism development in Finland. Well, first of all, Finland as a country is highly committed. The name of our governmental program is Inclusive and Competent Finland, a socially, economically and ecologically sustainable society. We can't achieve this without everybody's involvement. Finland has also set very ambitious targets, being the first carbon neutral welfare state by 2035, which is ahead of the common European targets as well as the Paris agreements. And some cities in Finland, like Lahti, are having even more ambitious goals than this. As we have heard today, Lahti aims to be carbon neutral by 2025. Finland is also very committed to the United Nations Sustainable Development, which consider all of us in the globe. And at the same time, tourism is estimated to be accountable for 8% of the global CO2 emissions. So this really means that tourism industry needs to play its share, just like any other industry or any other business or individuals. Looking further in the reasons that why we have heavily investing in sustainable tourism development, let's look at Finland's tourism strategy for the coming years, which is called Achieving More Together, Sustainable Growth and Renewal in Finnish Tourism. According to this strategy, tourism should be developed as a responsible manner. It is about the growth, but it is about the responsible and sustainable growth that creates jobs across the country as well as generate well-being. This updated tourism strategy has identified 4 priorities, and supporting sustainable development is first of them. Visit Finland is one of the key partners in implementing this strategy, so it really means that we need to invest in sustainable development and ensure that the tourism industry in Finland is sustainable today and in the future for the future generations. We must ensure actually that the future generations has the same opportunity to enjoy and develop tourism in Finland that we are enjoying today. So if we look back at how we started designing Finland to become a sustainable destination, so what was our process? First of all, we benchmarked. We benchmarked all the existing international and global sustainable tourism development programs, and we wanted to learn from the best. However, very soon during our benchmark process, we did realize that also the reason why some of the companies in Finland have not adopted this international program was that they felt that it didn't necessarily fit for the purpose in Finland. They were felt and seen too international and too distant. So what else we did was that we interviewed many stakeholders here in Finland. We did a survey among the tourism companies in Finland. We also interviewed and surveyed many key opinion leaders globally who are involved in sustainable tourism development, as well as surveyed sustainable tour operators or any other travel agencies selling Finland. And what we wanted to do is to learn the wants and needs of the tourism industry in terms of sustainable development. So we really wanted to hear the industry itself. Then we co-created. We already at this point had a very good understanding that what the tourism industry in Finland wants. So we took them on board. We understood that who are our key stakeholders in developing sustainable tourism in Finland. We set up different kind of steering and working groups to fine-tune the future national sustainable tourism program. And we also had over a year lasting piloting phase when we were testing the Sustainable Travel Finland program and its tools. We did learn that we need to take a holistic approach. We need to be inclusive. There are many programs that are set, for example, for the accommodation providers, but there was no program that would consider all sorts of tourism companies. So be it an accommodation, be it an activity provider or a tourism attraction or a ferry company or harbor, or whether it's a private business or more of a public destination. We also wanted to point out that sustainability is multidimensional. We did find out that there were many programs that were heavily focusing on ecotourism or environmental aspects of tourism, but we wanted to include the cultural, social, and economic aspect as well. And this is also what we heard from our stakeholders. This is also what they wanted. We did learn that we need to set clear goals, and we also need to have common goals. This means that we needed to do the current state analysis. So what was the current state of sustainable tourism development in Finland? Only in that way we were able to set goals. And we also launched the national sustainable tourism principles so that we can set common goals and understanding where we're going together with the industry. And finally, what we learned was that people want to learn. Oftentimes, the change actually starts from awareness. As long as you know that one action is more ethical than the other one, you are more likely to adopt that action. So we realized that the Sustainable Travel Finland program needs to be very educative. This is how we came about with Sustainable Travel Finland. We also realized that it cannot be only a sustainable development program for the travel industry in Finland. It also needs to communicate to the market. So in this way, at the same time, we at Visit Finland have a marketing communication tool. Finally, we can communicate about sustainable destinations and businesses in Finland in a transparent way. At the same time, we were able to provide a label for the travel trade abroad, as well as the travelers, so that they can easily identify sustainable travel companies and destinations in Finland. And what the Sustainable Travel Finland is, it is a 7-step approach to sustainable tourism development. It's a low threshold program that does not cost anything for the destinations or the companies who take part of the program, even though that some activities may cause some costs. But participating in the program itself is free of charge. So I'm briefly going through the steps, these 7 steps with you, of which the first one is commitment. During our interviews and surveys among the Finnish travel trade, we learned that often the reason why the sustainable development was not on companies' table was that there was no true commitment. It was actually not in anybody's job description. It was not that the company was avoiding sustainability. It was just something that got piled under other tasks, especially when you are really busy. So what we learned was that the first step needs to be commitment. It really means in every destination and in every tourism business in Finland should have a person in charge of sustainable development. It doesn't mean that this person is doing all the actions, but it means that there is somebody in charge and somebody who coordinates the action. It's also about making a formal decision to commit in the sustainable tourism. And in a company level, this really means that the management and the staff are all involved. Or if it is a destination, it means that both private and public sectors are involved. Part of the commitment is also signing the national sustainable tourism principles, which sets clear goals for all the businesses and destinations in Finland. And through the commitment, we are aiming to enhance the public-private partnership in sustainable development, because no one can be sustainable alone, but together we can achieve a lot. Step 2 is increasing know-how. Like I mentioned earlier, we learned that this program needs to be educative, and we build tools for it. First of all, we launched educational Sustainable Finland workshops that can be ordered through Visit Finland Academy and held regionally for the regional tourism networks, or also held online, as we have learned during this pandemic. We also set up an online self-assessment for helping companies to understand that what is the current state of sustainable development in their business or in the destination. This self-assessment at the same time educates the user about what everything is sustainable development about. And it also gives a nice and clear overview of where the company is and where it should be. It's like a checklist of the future activities as well. We also launched an e-learning platform for all the companies who are in the Sustainable Travel Finland program, so that you can have one address where you can find all the needed information about the sustainable tourism development. Because what we learned in our initial phase was that there was too much information. If you wanted to add up sustainable practices, there was simply too many sources of information. Many of the interviewees told that they just got overwhelmed by the information, and they were hoping that there would be one reliable source of information. And this is how we came to set up the e-learning platform. It's a guide for sustainable tourism development in Finland. Step 3 is a development and action plan. So what, again, we learned from the stakeholders in Finland, that there was a lot of willpower, but there was no clear path. There was no clear process of how to achieve more sustainable operations. So we set templates, we set some targets, and we set some common themes that what the development plans should at least include. And we did the same for the action plan itself. The development plan means that it includes everybody's commitment, whether it's a company or a destination. It includes their responsibilities and duties, as well as the time frame when these are expected to be done. It includes the current state analysis, as well as short and long-term goals, so that everybody in the destination or within the company knows that where is the company going with the sustainable development plan. It also includes the budget, the indicators for the sustainability, because sustainability, of course, needs to be measured and your success needs to be measured. And it also works as a year-to-year reporting tool. Fourth step is responsible communication. Interestingly, what we learned during our initial phase was that there was so much good that was done by the tourism industry in Finland. There was so many great examples of best practices, very, very innovative ways to adopt sustainability. Many of the tourism company owner held it in their heart to make sure that their actions have no negative impact in the surrounding community or in the environment. Actually, the opposite. They were doing many actions that were helping the local economy to thrive and to boost the well-being of the locals. However, this was not communicated anywhere. This just came. We learned about this because we interviewed people, we discussed with the tourism stakeholders. Many said that they had not actually even thought that it would be interesting to someone. It was just in their heart, in their business ethics, or simply in their DNA to work in a responsible manner. We also learned that some were a little bit shy to communicate about the sustainable development of their business because they felt it was bragging. However, at the same time, we learned that the tour operators and travelers were dying to find signals of sustainable operators in Finland. In the travel trade even mentioned that they're very surprised at how little the Finnish companies are doing because they can't find any information about what the companies are doing. So there was a clear lack of communication. We do think that it's better this way. It's better this way that there is actually true action and no communication than when there is communication but no action behind it. However, the travel trade, as well as the travelers, do have the right to know the commitment of the businesses and destinations towards sustainable development. And therefore, the Sustainable Travel Finland Step 4 is responsible communication, so that the destinations and companies are clearly communicating to their stakeholders about the actions they are taking towards the sustainable development. But this doesn't mean that you have to communicate only the actions you take, but also the actions you are planning on taking in the future to add the transparency. No one is expected to do only good all at once. And again, to make this easier, we build tools for sustainable communication, and we also launched the pledge that we saw in the beginning of this presentation. And also as a reminder for you, this pledge, to be like a Finn, you will find on Visit Finland website. Please have a look and also sign the pledge and share your commitment towards sustainable Finland. Step 5 is the certification and auditing. Peter Reeves in the beginning of today told about the importance of being certified, and I could not emphasize this important enough. So we group together with different certifying bodies who offer support for sustainable tourism development in Finland. And at the same time, these certifying bodies provide the ever so important on-site auditing for those companies who are getting certified. For the destinations, we have something called 51% rule. So for the destination to achieve the Sustainable Travel Finland label, the destination itself does not need to be certified, but 51% of its tourism destination, tourism business network needs to have the Sustainable Travel Finland label. Moving on to the step 6. Like in any sustainable development program, it is very important that all the criteria can be verified, and also it can be measured. So first of all, we launched our digital platform, which is purposefully built for Sustainable Travel Finland program. This is a platform where the companies can step by step verify that they fulfill each criteria. At the same time, for the company, it works as a personal profile where it's very easy to follow step by step that where the company is with the criteria, and it also works a little bit as an own kind of information bank, as the companies are verifying the criteria and at the same time saving their documents into the platform. Part of this step 6 is also national sustainable tourism indicators, which will be taken in use this year, again to give more clearer goals for the tourism industry, and also making it more easy to analyze and measure and set future goals for the sustainable tourism development. And finally, on the step 7, it means that by this time the company needs to have verified that they fulfill the criteria of each step, and also they have to agree on the continuous development. And when finally the company is on this stage and they send the application, there will be additional online auditing to make sure that all the criteria is fulfilled. Should all the criteria be fulfilled, the companies and destinations are received Sustainable Travel Finland label, which is a guarantee that the company or the destination is committed to sustainable operations. And this is the label also for the travel trade or for the travelers in Finland to recognize an operator that takes sustainability seriously. So where are we now? This Sustainable Travel Finland program became available for the Finnish travel trade this year, June 2020. So far, approximately 45 destinations have started the program and some 520 companies. So we have nearly 600 operators already walking the Sustainable Travel Finland path. And from these, 67 tourism businesses across Finland, as you can see it on the map, have already achieved Sustainable Travel Finland label. And we even have our very first Sustainable Travel Finland destination, which is Posio, located in Finnish Lapland. In the beginning, I told that the approach that we took was that we need to educate the industry, because often just by creating awareness, the change start to happen. And we set up this e-learning platform, which is by invitation only platform, and at the moment it has already 850 users, and the numbers are fast growing. Also, we launched the Sustainable Travel Finland educational workshops, and this workshop has been ordered for more than 50 times since June, and over 1,000 tourism companies in Finland have already participated in these workshops. So these educational sessions have been very highly popular among the Finnish travel trade. But are we there yet now? Are we now being sustainable? Is everything ready? We're far from it. But we have also learned that we are really in the beginning of our path. What's coming for this year? As I mentioned earlier, we will be taking in use the sustainable tourism indicators. And again, there will be a lot of educational content in these indicators. We will have own set of indicators for the businesses, for the destinations, and then the national indicators as well. This will be very interesting in the coming years when we will have a lot of data that businesses can, for example, compare anonymously each other, or the destinations can set benchmark. And in a national level, we will be able to monitor the level of sustainability of the industry. We will deepen our collaboration with the educational institution, and we are starting a good collaboration with the universities of applied sciences, because together with these universities, we want to make sure that the future workforce in Tourism Finland is familiar with the Sustainable Travel Finland label. We already now know that there are many students doing their work exchange in the companies among this Sustainable Travel Finland label, and we know that many are actually doing their graduation assignments or theses working in Sustainable Travel Finland, and this is something that is really highly motivating us, because we have the next generation who are soon graduating, and they are really eager to develop even more sustainable future for Finland. Again, about the education, we already have our first Sustainable Travel Finland workshop has been very popular, and we have already realized that we have several topics that we need to deepen our knowledge about to ensure that we keep the Finnish tourism actors ahead of the game. So we will have educational content on the biodiversity protection in tourism, about circular economy, low carbon tourism, inclusive tourism, and so on. And also, travel will be possible once again. So we will have to make it easier for the travelers and travel trade to find and purchase sustainable travel options in Finland. Many have already been requested more holistic routes around the Finland, so we're working on this. So not just single destinations or single attractions, but to ensuring that the travel is as responsible or as sustainable as it can be. And also we have learned that the travel trade, so those abroad who are selling Finland, they really want to be educated about the sustainable travel options in Finland. So we will be launching e-learning for them as well. Like Peter mentioned earlier, there really is a target of sustainably minded people. So this is also the market that we are targeting more and more in the future. And in addition to that, we should really move on from, in my opinion, we should really move on from thinking that sustainable development is some kind of charity business. While it's actually not, it provides us a huge economic opportunity to tap markets, for example, those target groups among inclusive tourism, those that Peter mentioned, people with reduced mobility. So it's not about charity, it's not just about the social good, but it's actually also ensuring that you're economically viable. And this is what I really wanted to share with you today about the Sustainable Travel Finland label. But also lastly, I would really like to remind, there was earlier in the conversation, especially during the panel, the carbon emissions came in the discussions quite often, and it was quite often in the comments, but there was kind of like a juxtaposition that can traveling be sustainable, that if we travel, that doesn't it already take the sustainability away? But let's keep in mind that sustainable development is multidimensional. It's about the minimizing the negative impact to the environment, while it's about maximizing at the same time the economic benefits, but also maximizing the benefits for the local communities. But it's not done in the cost of the environment. It's finding the perfect balance between these dimensions. And through sustainable tourism development, it is possible to find this win-win-win situation, so that people win, the environmental win, and the profit wins as well. So with these words, I would like to thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Liisa. Nice to see you. Can you hear me?
Same, nice to see you. It's a shame that I can't be there.
Oh yeah, but luckily you've got such amazing backdrop wherever you are.
I know, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Oh, we are lucky in Finland to have still to ensure that the future is sustainable, so that this will remain these snow conditions.
Absolutely. After being last week in those kind of surroundings in Lapland, you kind of, that stays with you. Let's put it that way. And I'm probably one of the many who are wishing to be in that kind of landscape in the winter wonderland.
You're more than welcome. We do miss tourism here.
Which part of Lapland you are in at the moment?
At the moment in Rovaniemi.
Rovaniemi, yeah. Arctic Circle. Thank you, Liisa, for really fascinating presentation. And we've got some questions that have been coming in, and please keep flying in those questions, because we are really eager to have this dialogue with you guys. You can send us questions and comments at screen.io or tweet us by using the hashtag SDC21. Keep them coming. Well, let's start, Liisa. First question is, what is the role of recycling in sustainable travel solutions?
So recycling is, of course, one of the most visible ways for the tourism businesses. I mean, most of visible ways for the traveler to realize that the tourism business is taking responsible actions. And of course, for example, I introduced the steps. So there is the step 3, the development plan needs to address the plans for the recycling, and also the certifications that support the program. They also there needs to be verification on the recycling. However, in Finland we have huge regional differences in this. So we are not actually all having all companies in Finland are not in the similar positions. In many cities, for example, it is possible. It's been arranged for the businesses. It's very easy to recycle. While if you're located more remotely, it's actually getting very difficult to recycle, and it might be hundreds of kilometers that you need to take your waste actually. But here comes to play the importance of the destinations in this game. Destinations usually represent the municipalities, and the municipalities have much more power to find solution on these than single private businesses.
Interesting. Let's move on. How will Sustainable Finland tackle the issue of seasonality, probably the most difficult challenge to tackle year-round economic income and overcrowding at times?
That's a very good question, and this is not something we're tackling only with Sustainable Travel Finland program, but this is actually something we're tackling at Visit Finland. It's one of our cross-cutting teams to make tourism year-round. So we are actually taking this responsibility in our marketing and sales. So we actively promoting lesser known destinations and lesser popular seasons. So for example, we've been heavily focusing on summer in Finland, which is quite unknown. People are already aware of these views around me, and many come to Finland because of the snow and because of the Arctic conditions. So we're trying to make other months attractive as well. And in a way, this is quite an interesting and appealing task because we Finns travel during autumn and summer a lot in Finland. So we actually have a good knowledge that what's great about Finland in other times of the year as well. So like I mentioned, that we are not tackling it only through this program, but we are taking the responsibility also when we are doing any marketing and sales actions.
Yeah, and like during COVID-19 last summer, like a lot of Finnish people found the national parks, and especially the ones in Lapland, and the numbers of visitors in national park, I think it went up about something like 20%, and even considering that there weren't any foreign travelers there. So maybe times are changing slowly but surely.
Absolutely, and here it is in some national parks the traffic increased even more, and here it's again an interesting point that sometimes it was one entrance which was crowded, while there was another entrance where there's hardly any visitors. So this is also why it's so important that we have a good, solid collaboration with our stakeholders. So, for example, the Wildlife and Parks Finland, so that we can ensure that we are then doing our share of directing traffic to those lesser known parks or entrances.
Great. And let's move on to the next question. They are fantastic. There are more and more coming in. There are a lot of Finnish tourism-related companies run by non-Finnish speaker who would love to apply and implement the STF certificate and take part in the sustainability initiatives. Could something be done to get past the language restrictions, or at least make it easier?
Very good question, and I hope that this question was also heard by those who are funding us. Because it is true that the Sustainable Travel Finland program is available at the moment only in Finnish. And from the very beginning, we have meant to have the program also in Swedish and in English, but unfortunately our restricted budget hasn't been allowing that. Another reason is that we haven't been ready. So we wait the program to be ready and then translate everything at once and making it possible all the tools to use in other languages as well. We do have, luckily, number of companies who are based in Finland, but the Finnish is not their main language, because all the documentation and all the verification can be done in English and Swedish as well. So it is possible to walk the path even if you're not native, but it definitely makes it harder. And here it's been great help also from those students who are doing their work placements, for example, in the companies and are native Finns. So they've been able to help companies. So it's been really nice to see this kind of collaboration as well.
So am I interpreting right that Finnish tourism is not only becoming more and more international, but actually the tourist providers are reflecting that change as well, and there are more nationalities operating here with work?
Absolutely. So all over Finland, that there is tourism businesses that are actually owned or operated by people from some other countries, or, for example, in the sales, we have a lot of people from other countries working in the sales because then they have the advantage of knowing the languages. And I'm actually not really surprised about this because Finland is a fantastic country, and tourism is a one way of that. It's quite easy kind of gate for you that if you want to experience another country, and many have come here for a holiday, fell in love, wanted to stay, and in this way they have ended up working in the tourism industry, or even setting up their own business. So we have many of these people who have they have a Finnish soul and they found their way here, even if they're born somewhere else. And at the same time, it's very important actually that we would provide all these national programs in other languages as well, because it's all about the tourism ecosystem. It's about the common goals. It's about the direction where we want tourism to go. So we can't take this risk that somebody's falls out of the wagon because of the language obstacle.
Excellent. That sounds really good. Let's move on to the next one. Sustainable digital trip planner sounds great. Is it for tourism operators only, or possibly also for consumers directly?
We actually already have this digital trip planner. It's for consumers. So you can find it on the Visit Finland website, or just Googling trip planner Visit Finland. So it's already in use, and individuals can already plan their tours around Finland. In the future, we just want that there is options to plan sustainable trips.
Excellent, thank you for that. One comment, not a question, but Liisa, you did point out that sustainability gives us huge economical opportunities, and obviously we'll see here in Lahti as well, European Green Capital 2021. So, I mean, this sustainability, as Lahti show, is becoming part of these kind of area brands, if you like, and it's really, I assume, like vital for the whole business model as well.
Absolutely. So consumers are more and more demanding when it comes to the sustainability of the businesses. Many actually take it already for granted that you must be sustainable. You must be able to show, like we also heard today from the earlier discussions. And this pandemic has definitely boosted the need for sustainable tourism experiences. And there are many activities that are at the moment voluntary, but it's getting stricter and stricter. There will be stricter laws, stricter policies, because the countries really need to reach the targets. So it's easier to start now when it's still voluntary, some of the actions, than start when it becomes required by law. So it's the consumers who are asking for this. It's the nature who is asking for this. It's the environment. It's the government. It's the travel trade. So I don't really see any other option anymore if you want to be a viable business.
Yeah, and 2 steps ahead of the change and not lagging behind, like you said. Next comment, companies won't implement new sustainability focused system or operations unless it has a cost benefit or obligated by the government laws. Government regulation is essential. As proven by the lack of progress in the climate change negotiations, with the exceptions of a very small number of value-driven companies, free markets always prioritize profit. There wasn't a question there, but there was a comment. It was an interesting comment and goes along the lines what you just said, that the world's changing, and maybe if I'm interpreting right, it's not only whether it's a profit or sustainability and environmental kind of values, that they are actually coming hand in hand and creating kind of profitability and actually jobs as well. Is this a right interpretation?
I would.
Have a divide anymore between sustainability and economic growth.
Yeah, exactly. That you don't need to choose whether you are profitable or you're sustainable. You can be both, and I think that it's even getting a little bit old-fashioned, the way of thinking that you have to choose between the people and planet or the profit. We already have a number of companies who have heavily invested in sustainable tourism, who are saying that they would be out of business without this, because it's their selling point. That's what differentiates them from the others. But then you also need to learn to communicate it to your clients, and you especially have to be very transparent with your actions. There are companies also in the tourism in Finland who have realized to target their business for specific. For example, Peter brought up the people with reduced mobility, or senior group is growing. So many companies have realized that they, instead of targeting to the mass, it's actually there is cost benefit to go for more focused target groups, and it can be economically profitable as well, and you can be sustainable at the same time.
And it seems that COVID-19 and this corona crisis has actually enhanced these nature values, that once the new normal begins, it might be that people are even more inclined to look at the options which are sustainable, environmentally friendly, and some of them are, like Peter said, willing to pay more to get that kind of all-around sustainable experience.
Absolutely. So we have really started valuing again those basically soft values, but also like distance, pure nature, staying ahead of the crowds, the secondary destinations. Tourism industry, unfortunately, has also been blamed a lot for the spread of COVID. So people are aware of their own actions, so they want to be responsible when they travel, but they also want to be positive that the partners, whether it's accommodation, activity, attraction, is also taking responsibility and making sure that it does good for the environment and communities instead of vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good that that has been brought up in the media, like kind of unethical treatment of wildlife, animals, wild animals being kept in captivity, etc. Luckily, Finland is not like the worst in this case. It's more to do with kind of southern countries. So I think it's good that conversation is flowing in different areas about this, and we are kind of creating a system that is self-improving all the time and challenging itself.
Yeah, and these discussions are the clear signals that this is what consumers, who are the travelers, are expecting from you. They're expecting that you're looking after the animals that work for you and the people who work for you.
Absolutely, and that's a good progress. Right, let's move on to next. Thank you very much for your fantastic comments and questions to Liisa. While we welcome international companies to invest in Finland, we also need to make sure that the companies pay taxes to Finland to support the destination and thus ensure the sustainability of Finnish travel industry and economy in whole. At global platform, the risk is that a lot of profits go elsewhere. Is Visit Finland looking into this side as well? Good question.
Yeah, good question. So I'm assuming here it means the companies who have invested in Finland, so setting up the business, that whether it supports the regional economy as well. Very good questions, because this is something that is actually causing a debate now and then, especially when there is more and more foreign investment. But first of all, the same laws apply to both, whether the business is international or the business owner comes from somewhere else. or if it's a Finnish, we should be lucky about that in Finland, that we have the same laws. For example, if we have an accommodation, if you want to have set up a hotel somewhere. So the laws are kind of protecting us. Also, when it comes to the employment, for example, or environmental care. These are the discussions that are usually held also regionally, depending on where these investments are. And in the business, Visit Finland is part of Business Finland, and in Business Finland we have the Invest In department as well, which is more dealing with the investment, including tourism investment. So in this way, then we are also in the discussions about the potential disadvantages of the tourism investments.
Yeah, that's it's a really interesting angle when as we spoke, in that tourism in Finland is becoming more and more international, and so is the ownership of these products and facilities that have been offered, for example, in Lapland. So do you think that there should be more conversation, like public debate and information campaign about this, how we are kind of creating a system where international operators are coming here, that they are bound by the same rules? For example, because last week I was in Enontekiö, and actually this was a debate that was brought up by a few locals, that they felt that there's a kind of level of danger that tourism is becoming more kind of like a mining industry in Finland, that foreign big companies are coming here, affiliating smaller companies, and actually employing their own people who are coming to work here with kind of weaker worker rights. So it's a really long question, but as you know, it's a really complex issue. But do you think that there should be more conversation about this, that we have really clear understanding amongst the tourist operators, but also people who are making the rules, that we know that this system is not being taken advantage of?
Yeah, there is definitely more room for this kind of conversation. And like I mentioned before, that currently these conversations, they do exist, but they are held more regionally. Because also the issues related to them they are fairly regional as well. But it wouldn't hurt to have like a national discussion and more of it. We do of course have this, but to have more, because there are so many regional differences, and also there are a lot of concerns, and there are a lot of even lack of understanding and lack of knowledge going on.
Yeah.
So you kind of think that you know, but you don't have all the information. So it is actually a really valid, good point, that it should be made more visible, that how are the laws applying to this, and how much we are investing in trying to make Finland very attractive country for investments, and why for the international instead of local. So it's actually a really good point that there should be maybe a national discussion on this, because usually they're held regionally and focusing on regional issues.
Well, that calls for another conference, a nationwide conference on this ownership and the development on international tourism in Finland. But thank you for the person who made this comment. It was a really important one. We've got room for a couple of more comments and questions. Considering Finland's huge wealth in lakes, is Sustainable Finland looking to improve bathing water quality and obtain blue flags?
Yeah, so as a national tourism board, we have very, how would I say, very little mandate in having, clearly like directly working on the quality of the bathing water. But we are, of course, involved in many of the projects who are working on this. So basically behind the scenes, our staff is working in many steering groups and so on, so that we are aware of the development, but also that we are providing our expertise and using the voice of tourism in the importance of this. So this is very important also, that we have this kind of collaboration with all the other industries in Finland, because the pure water is definitely one of the key selling points of Finland. We really are the land of thousands of lakes, and so far we've been very lucky that these waters are not only plentiful, but they're fairly pure, and this is how it should be kept if we want to keep this advantage.
Fantastic. And a lot of, like, as we've read and learned, that a lot of, for example, Chinese people come here for the pure clean air as well, which can't be found in big cities around the world. So we've got a lot of selling points that are purely based on nature and its pure role. What is the role of accessibility or universal design in label of Sustainability Finland?
This actually reminded me of you earlier asked about the blue flag, also another label. Yes, I just realized that so yes, there is actually at the moment there are no blue flags other than in Åland, in Finland. So they are accepted under the umbrella of Sustainable Travel Finland. But in the mainland of Finland, instead of blue flag, there is this something called Roope-satama, so the Roope guest harbors. So yes, we are collaborating with the blue flag as well. And sorry, what was the next question?
Well, briefly, what is the role of accessibility or universal design in label of Sustainability Finland?
Yeah, so I briefly in the end of my presentation told about the next steps for the 2021. So we will take more and more this inclusive tourism to be part of the label. So it's not only about the accessibility, but actually the whole wider group of target groups that fall under the inclusive tourism. So we will have more content on this, but there is no at the moment these labels that are accepted under the Sustainable Travel Finland. They are mainly labels that are they are more of having considering all the dimensions of sustainability instead of, for example, just the social sustainability.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, Liisa. Thank you very much for having the time to talk to us. It was really interesting, your presentation, and the conversation continues. Thank you very much for your time. It's been great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. And you enjoy that amazing winter wonderland there in Rovaniemi.
I certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.